Welcome back to another episode of Till the Wheels Fall Off. My name is Matt, but not the Matt that you're used to. No, I don't have that handsome face, those chiseled abs, that beautiful beard, and that deep, boomy voice. But I am a Matt that you may have heard of if you are a part of the Facebook community or if you have been listening here. And you're probably wondering, well, what the hell are you doing on my Tufo screen? And we will get to that for sure. I met Matt and Paige about 3 or 4 years ago through an online community called E2M. And I know that a lot of people in Tufo, at least the early adopters, those people were a part of that group as well. And I remember seeing posts by them, a lot of them as a matter of fact, Matt and Paige, I think more so Paige, about the journeys that they had been on and the transformations that they have had. And those posts were motivating for a lot of people. I've told them this before, but full disclosure, I didn't like them just from those posts because I felt like I was getting influenced. And in today's world, I think so many times we feel like we're getting influenced and we're not getting the truth. But what ended up happening is Paige posted a picture of a post-workout or some win that she had, and she had on a pair of Air Maxes that I recognized immediately. For those of you who don't know, I'm a huge sneaker enthusiast. I couldn't help myself. I had to make a comment on it. I did so. She tagged Matt. We ended up connecting, Facebook messaging. Fast forward 4 years later, not only are they a daily text for me, or almost a daily text, but they also are people that I have come to adore and people that I respect, and now people that I help. I've been helping behind the scenes with Tufo for the last year plus, doing some editing, some suggestions on content, things like that. But for the most part, I've been just behind the scenes, making sure that the videos and the audio that you hear every single week sounds and looks as good as it can. With Matt being sick and Paige doing what she wants to in her life right now, focusing on her values, focusing on things that she wants to be focusing on, right now they are in a period where they needed a little bit of help, or at least I felt like they did. And so here I am, trying to pitch in a little bit so that they can take a rest because they have been working really hard for the last few years. You're probably wondering what I'm going to be able to offer you, and we are going to get into that as I'm going to dive a little bit deep here into myself and how I feel like Tufo has helped me and how I feel like it can help you. But I feel like we have to start off talking about something that as a fellow content creator is really important, and that's sponsorship. Content is free to consume for the most part, but it is not free to put on. And if you're a content creator or know anybody who tries to be a content creator or even a small business owner, having sponsorship and companies that help you out is immense. And that's why we continue to be so proud that Soberlink is a sponsor of this content. To me, Soberlink is so much more than just a breathalyzer. When you look at it on the outset, it looks like just another breathalyzer, but it's so much more than that. Sure, it does act as a breathalyzer, and sure, it does give you data based off of alcohol consumption and things of this nature. But what it really does for me, or at least in my opinion, is I feel like it gives peace of mind. I feel like it is that concrete data that you need, whether you're an addict or whether you're recovering or whether you're somebody who is a loved one of somebody who is recovering, to know that the person who it needs to be is doing the deal, as Matt would say. There's military-grade facial recognition technology. It's tamper-proof. There are analysts at Soberlink who are looking at all the data that is coming in for each individual that signs up for it. Why is that important? Well, it's important to know that the person who says that they're doing that work is actually doing the work. As you know, it's not just the substance, it's the behaviors behind the substance. And one thing that accompanies addiction is lying. Soberlink does not allow for that. Soberlink does not allow for you to wonder, are they doing it? Are they drinking? Are they hiding? And if you're somebody who's in recovery, all the lying, all the deception, all of the trauma that comes with that for the loved ones that you have perpetrated that on, Soberlink allows you to say, look, I am doing this. I'm sticking to my word, and there is concrete proof that I am doing so. I think it's a wonderful tool because I think in today's day and age, everything is made to be tampered with AI and all that stuff. Soberlink is not that. Soberlink allows people to concretely know that somebody in their life is doing what they need to do. It's been so helpful for so many people. Tufo believes in what it can do, and Soberlink believes in what Tufo can do for the addiction community and the recovery community. And that's why they continue to be a sponsor for us. And we are very, very grateful for that. You're probably asking, what does this mean for me? Well, let's say that you're in a custody battle. It is court admissible in all 50 states and Canada. God forbid that you are. But again, you have that peace of mind to know that this is admissible here, that you're not going to be told that you're crazy by the court of law. There are so many benefits to it. It's not free. There is a barrier to entry, and that barrier to entry is money. But luckily, because you are such a wonderful listener of this show, Soberlink is going to help you out. Not only can you rent it for, I believe, $19 a month, but if you go to soberlink.com/wheels, enter your email address, they are going to send you a voucher for a $100 Visa gift card. $100, man. I know that if I find a $100 bill in my jacket pocket, I'm feeling really good. It can go toward offsetting the cost of the device. It can go toward paying bills. It can go toward literally anything that you want. The point is that they are helping you so that you can help yourself or a loved one. So once again, go to soberlink.com/wheels, enter your email address, and get that voucher and start on your journey or a loved one's journey today. And as always, we need to thank Soberlink for all of their support. Without their support, we couldn't continue to do what we have done for you in the ways that we have done it. And if we're going to talk about support, twfo.com is the website to find everything TUFO related. Whether that's merch or whether that's Matt's blogs or whether that's Paige's perspective or whether that's Reclaiming You, the course. There are a ton of resources on that website that are going to allow you to dive in and support TUFO in whatever way that you can. Not only support TUFO, but TUFO giving back to you and supporting you in whatever phase of this journey that you are on. Go there, search it, become familiar with it. Buy merch if you want to. Buy them a cup of coffee. Do whatever it is that you would like to support. But what I can tell you, having talked to them so many times, having talked about this content, this journey, is no matter whether you give $0 or $1 million, they are going to love you all the same, and they are going to be here for you, show empathy, and be a part of wherever you are in this journey. twfo.com is where you can find everything TUFO related. I highly suggest that you visit it. I don't know. I think I did that okay. Matt usually does housekeeping and usually has all of his P's and Q's lined up. I'm trying to do this to make sure that the sponsors get their shout out, to make sure that they know that we appreciate them, and to make sure that everybody out here knows where they can find all their resources. Because what I can tell you is on their free Facebook community, which is also on the website, and you have to know the entrances to all of these episodes, whether it's welcome back, or whether it's hey y'all, they're going to ask you questions because you need to be a listener. But on that Facebook community, there are a ton of questions. Where can I find this? What about this? What about that? And twfo.com is the way to do that. So housekeeping is out of the way. Now, so you've stuck with me this long. It's been about 9 minutes or so. And you may still be asking yourself, well, what are you going to do for me this week that Matt or Paige can't do for me in any other week? And I think I should be straight with you that I'm not going to be able to give you stories from the perspective of an addict. I'm not an addict. I've never been an addict. I can't give you the stories from the perspective of a spouse of an addict. I never went through that. I never went through what Paige went through. All of that trauma, all the recovery, the rise, all of it. Never been through any of that. So you're not going to get the kind of detailed answers that you're going to hear from Matt and Paige. You're not going to hear about studies and doctors and so many experts in this field. But what can I do? Well, I can relate with you. I myself am the son of an alcoholic. My father for my entire life has been an alcoholic. There is not a day that has gone by in my life that I can't remember him holding a drink of some sort. And my mom, who was extremely young when I was born, had a lot of mental health issues that she didn't really get taken care of until very late in her life. And she passed away in 2021. So a little bit about me. I just turned 43 a couple weeks ago, 43 or 44 trips around the sun, however it is that you want to count that. And I have been very fortunate to have had a very full life. But I have had a lot of ups and downs in my life that started from the day I was born until now. I was born of two parents. My mom was 22 years old when I was born, which kind of blows my mind, if I'm being honest, because I think about myself at 22 and it's crazy. It's crazy to think about making a decision like that or taking on a responsibility like that at that age. There's just no way that I could have done it. My dad was a little bit older. He was 35, but my dad also had been married. I have a half sister, but my dad, when I was born, was an alcoholic. I just don't think that my mom knew, and I know that I didn't know until I was a little bit older. And my mom, again, was very, very young. So she was handed this baby. She was given the responsibility of raising a child, and she was really a child herself. My mom also at 22, much like many people at 22, hadn't really found out who she was yet. Because unfortunately, my grandmother, her mother, also was handed down a lot of mental health issues that she never dealt with or never even recognized. And so my mom was playing with a deck of cards that was really stacked against her. And I know that so much of the emotional trauma that I went through when I was growing up had a lot to do with her passing it down. But we're going to get to how I feel about that a little bit later. As for my father at 35, yeah, he was a professional. He had a job. He'd already been through all of the big milestones in his life. He was ready to be a father, having been a father already. But my father also, while physically there, didn't know how to handle things emotionally. I would say, even today, that he's emotionally immature, emotionally incapable of closeness, of introspection. And I think my parents, both together, having their own emotional immaturities in different ways combined, it really made for what I would consider a bad pairing and really a toxic relationship. Not toxic in the way of beating my mother or things like that, but there were definitely a lot of miscommunications, lots of trauma that they passed to each other. Lots of there was a lot, let's put it that way. And I grew up in this environment. I grew up in this volatile environment, this uncertain environment. But I just want to be clear that as a child, I never felt fear for my safety, fear for my life, anything like that. I know that a lot of children of addicts do feel that at certain points because not every addict is created the same. Not every alcoholic drinks in the same way or gets drunk in the same way or acts in the same way. And so my childhood was not wrought with fear. It was not wrought with violence. It was actually filled with a lot of love. But that love was not the purest form of love. When I was growing up, the expectations that were heaped upon me from my parents, mostly my mom, were extraordinarily high. You might be thinking, well, isn't that a good thing? I would love to have my parents give a shit about anything that I did. And I'm not saying it was a bad thing that they had expectations, that they wanted me to strive for the best. But those expectations, again, more so on my mom's side, felt like they were a condition to her love. If I brought home a B, that meant that she wasn't going to love me as much, or at least that's the way that it felt. That's the way that it was communicated. If I didn't do a chore exactly the way that she wanted or exactly when she wanted, essentially, if I didn't keep her world perfect, I felt like she wasn't going to love me the same way, or hell, maybe even love me at all. That was tough to go through. That was tough to grow up with because the uncertainty that really swirled around me made me feel like I couldn't be my full self. So what did I do? I developed a defense mechanism, which was, I'm going to make sure that I don't upset her. I would get A's, not because I wanted to get A's or not because I had this feeling of pride, but because I didn't want her to get upset. I never really learned how to accomplish something for myself, to fully own who I was, fully own my journey in life, because I was constantly trying to make sure that the person who I felt was the most important in my life loved me. And I spent a lot of my childhood wondering whether my mom loved me. And that's not for pity's sake. It's just the way that it was, especially now when I have introspection, when I can look back on it. My dad was a little bit different, though. My dad wanted me to do well. He wanted me to do my best, but he was always focused on the future. He was always focused on the solution. If I didn't get a good grade on a test, it wasn't, you're awful. It was, okay, what are you going to do to make it better next time? And when I really think about that, that is probably why I ended up in the place that I ended up, which is to say a good place. I think if he had the same toxicity around expectations that my mom did, I don't know if I would have ever really gotten out of that. I think I would have drowned in it. But my dad was physically there. He took stock in things that I did. He was a Boy Scout leader. He was a Little League coach. He would help me with my homework. Physically, my dad was there, which is something that a lot of kids don't always have. It's not always a guarantee that your parents will have you and then be there for you every step of the way. The important things that my father was incapable of doing, though, was being emotionally available, emotionally present. He didn't know how to do that. My dad grew up in what was essentially a single mother home. My grandparents got divorced early. My grandmother, his mother, had mental health issues and addiction issues, I believe, that really led to her being incapable of relating, of being there for him. My dad was left alone to his own devices a lot, and he made friends. He played golf. He was popular in high school, but I think that he wasn't seen. I don't think he felt that his presence was appreciated, that his accomplishments were appreciated, and that he was valued. My grandmother had a very strange way of showing love. And much like I talked about with my mom earlier, her love was definitely conditional. She would give you the shirt off of her back, but then would also remind you about it and make sure to get payment for that. And my dad picked up some of those traits, but I think that was passed on to him in a way that my dad, he never really got out of childhood. He's 78 now. He still is an alcoholic. And in so many ways, he is still a child. That was my young life. What I noticed or have noticed since then happened when I became a teenager is I started to experience the world in a lot larger of a way. And when you're a teenager, of course, you're going through some shit. You have hormones, you're learning about your body, you're into the opposite sex or the same sex, hell. And you're sort of figuring out the world because life starts to come at you fast once you turn 14, 15, then you start driving. I mean, it's a lot. And as I got older, as I started learning about myself and starting to realize things that I enjoyed, things that I liked, my parents and I started to grow distant. My father, more specifically at that time. When I talk about my dad and his childhood and how he is still a child, one element that I figured out recently about him is the fact that I think he is still stuck in high school. I think that he looks upon his youth as the best time of his life. I mean, most of us look at our generation, our era, and say it was the best. I mean, I was a 80s kid and a 90s high schooler. The late 90s, early 2000s was great for many things. It wasn't the best, though. But to me, it was. And to my father, his time was the best. And there were certainly merits of that time. But I think that his entire life was spent always wanting to be there. And I think that that mindset allowed his world as he got older to shrink smaller and smaller and smaller. And as my world got larger and larger, the Venn diagrams just never met. The Venn diagrams of he and I never met. He stopped relating to me and learning how to relate to me very early in my life. And while we had what I would say is a mostly superficial relationship, but not in the way that you think about we have nothing to talk about, as time went on, we started to have less and less to talk about because I have always had an expanding world. My mind has always wanted to absorb the world, absorb different talents, knowledge. And my dad has been so complacent to be in the same place, to never want to leave his house, never want to leave his town. And again, I think it is a closed-mindedness that is not from just being old, although it's part of it. I think it has a lot to do with never really growing up. And so we stopped relating. But as I became a teenager, I started to feel closer to my mom because my mom, I will say, was cool. She knew what was cool. She knew how to adapt. She knew how to cater to a younger generation. Because I think she was so young when I was born, she never became old in that way. And as I got out of high school and went to college, we became very close. I mean, I talked with and related with both of my parents throughout college. It was when I left, it was when I got a job and when I moved here, which is to Washington, D.C. in 2006, that I realized my mom and I were close, but there was something that was off. My dad didn't know how to relate to me. And on the other side of that, my mom didn't know how to let go. I would get girlfriends. I would have a social life. And she would call me at 10 o'clock on like a Friday night and be like, I need you to help me fix my printer. And I'm wasted out at a party or at a bar because that's what you do in your 20s, especially when you start getting actual money. She would call and tell me what would happen if I was in a ditch somewhere. And I would flippantly tell her, I would advise you to call 911 because she lived in San Diego. I lived in Washington, D.C. It's going to take me a little bit of time to get there. And you might want to call some authorities or emergency services to come help you. But that's the kind of toxicity that I started noticing. And I noticed that in my 20s, while I was having a good time here, I could be myself here. Could be myself in front of my friends, but I couldn't be myself in front of women because women represented my mom. Didn't learn this until later, but now I know. And when my mom was around, I definitely couldn't be myself. She would tell me that things that I liked were stupid, that I was never going to get married if I liked such and such. I would look like a child if I wore a hat, many things. And I never learned to love myself. I never learned to embrace the fact that I am who I am and you should love yourself. And we grew apart very, very quickly. In April of 2013, April 19th, as a matter of fact, I met a woman out at a birthday party. It was at a bowling party, and we met, and I talked to her, and I was my usual self back then, snarky as I always am. And that woman now is my wife. At the time when we met, it's a little bit of a rocky start to our relationship because I was immature for so many reasons. But she noticed right away that that dynamic between my mom and I was off. And she never judged. She never did the thing where it's, I don't think you should have a relationship with your mom. But she would put it in, I don't think this is good for you. It feels like it's holding you back. It feels like there's something off and that she doesn't really respect you or respect your time or respect your growth. And she was right. And I confronted my mom, and long story short, we went through a 5-year estrangement. And that estrangement was the start of a journey for me that got me to today and every day going forward. In that 5-year period, I embraced everything about my life. I started to think big. I started to achieve, got promoted at work, built a relationship, bought a home. I felt like I was doing things. I had a list of accomplishments that I wanted to accomplish. And in that 5-year period, man, I just went all in on who Matt Frates was. And I became much more loving and forgiving of myself, and I gave myself grace. And then in 2020, March of 2020, my son was born. My wife and I spent 5 years trying to have a child. We'd given up, and lo and behold, here he comes. And 3 months after that, I had a mental breakdown. I hit rock bottom because while I had embraced everything that I was, I hadn't quite gotten to how I'd gotten there in the first place. The behaviors, the reactions, lots. And I didn't know how to properly communicate because what had ended up happening for me was I never communicated with my mom because much like when I was a kid, I didn't want to upset her. I didn't want to rock the boat. I did the same thing with my wife, and it was toxic and unhealthy. And my wife sat there and listened to me pour out about things that I was unhappy about. It wasn't me complaining about her. It was talking about a dynamic within our relationship that I was never happy with and wanted to vocalize and just couldn't. That I wanted to be trusted with things, to be treated like an adult. And I don't think my wife knew that she was doing it, and I don't think she did it on purpose, for sure. But she looked at me and said, I'm willing to be here for you, and I'm willing to look at the way that I behave in our interactions, but I need something from you, and I need you to get help. And that was so huge because I did it. I made a phone call, which was something I used to be afraid of, and I made a therapy appointment. And on that day, my mom contacted me for the first time in 5 years and started what was probably the most enriching year of our relationship. Turns out it was the last year of our relationship. but it was the combination of fatherhood and the start of therapy that opened up everything in my life. And that has gotten me to here. That has gotten me to look at my life and look back at all the trauma and all the reasons why and be able to process, be able to be introspective to the point where I forgive everybody. And forgiveness isn't the goal. And certainly it doesn't take accountability away in any way. But what it does mean is that when I look back at trauma passed down, behaviors that probably were done with good intentions that really were bad, I don't feel like my parents are to blame for how I got to that point in my life, how I got to the whole breakdown. And it was so freeing to know that I was in control. So my life story is probably, again, making you ask the question of, well, again, what are you doing for me? How does this relate to TUFO? So many people in TUFO are in different phases of their journey through recovery. And let me be clear that recovery is not just for addicts. Recovery is for the people who have been affected by those folks as well. The lies, the trauma, the deceit, all of that leaves a mark. Whether you're a child of an alcoholic like I am, or whether you're a spouse or a loved one, you feel it. You feel that trauma. You have lived through that deceit, lived through the lies, been told that you're crazy, been told that you're not good enough, that honestly, you're less than human. And sometimes it feels very lonely. When I look at the Facebook group and I look every day at the posts, anonymous or not anonymous, of people saying, I feel stuck. I don't know what to do. I'm afraid. I don't know. The future looks bleak. I've been there. And I think sometimes when we go through pain, we just want somebody to see us. They don't have to have the solution. Men like to find solutions a lot of the time. They just have to recognize and say, I see you. So often in life, that's all we're searching for. We are searching to be seen, to be respected, to be heard, and to matter to people. I think that's what makes being a relation to an addict so frustrating, so crushing, is that their behaviors, no matter the substance, make you feel less than. They make you feel like you don't matter. And I have come out the other side of all of that. And sometimes I feel like an anomaly. Sometimes I feel as if I drew a lottery ticket that not everybody gets, in that I was able to break free of a trauma cycle all on my own. Yes, I went to therapy, but I didn't just fall into the trap. I did it myself. And for many of you, whether you're a recovering addict looking to make amends, looking to build trust, Matt always says it, you have to do it over time. It takes a long time. There's hope for you. There is light at the end of the tunnel for you. And if you're somebody who is a spouse of an addict or a loved one or a child, there's light at the end of the tunnel and hope for you too. But here's the thing that I want to focus on for those of you who are the spouse or those of you who are a child. You can't control the people in your life. Addicts or non-addicts, life is unpredictable, except the one thing that you can control is your own life. Paige always talks about living within your values, and so much of TUFO, down to the Reclaiming You course that I talked about earlier, is all about yourself, empowering yourself, and breaking free from feeling like you need somebody in your life to be able to be successful, to make a living, keep a household, raise kids. The fact of the matter is that humans are capable of so much. And while hope can be a dangerous thing, empowerment for the right reasons, feeling like you matter, feeling like you're taking control of your own life and your own path, man, that is powerful. And that's real. The light at the end of the tunnel isn't always blaring like this light off to my left over here. Sometimes it is so small and it's almost a flicker of light. And that's why at different phases, we feel this uncertainty. We don't know where to go. The path is dark. Pain sucks, I'll be honest. And I think that a majority of the time, people would pay money to not have to go through pain. But hear me out. Pain brings with it growth. Growth is so important. And I think a lot of times we are so focused on the lack of hope, the darkness, that we don't see the growth that can come from this pain that we're going through. Because again, it sucks. When you're in it, it sucks. It's like when you're sick. There are going to be days that you're not sick, actually a vast majority of them, but it doesn't feel that way when you're throwing up all over the place, right? Same thing goes for where you are in this process. You may right now be listening to this and watching this and thinking, well, Matt, there is no hope. There is no light. I guarantee you it's there. But controlling the parts of your life that you can control, setting yourself up to do what you have to do, whether that's staying or leaving, working on the relationship, whatever it is. I'm not here or anywhere close to being qualified to telling you what to do. But through my life experience, through my ability to break away from the bullshit and get out of the quicksand, I'm telling you that the light at the end of the tunnel and the destination that's at the end of it, it's nirvana. It's heaven. Doesn't mean that life is perfect. It doesn't mean that you are going to be rid of the people that are trying to hurt you. No, it doesn't at all. Trust me. There's going to be new people, line after line after line, just trying their best to fuck with you, essentially. But what you have established for yourself is the fact that you are empowering yourself. You are in control. Nobody else's actions are dictating how you feel, how you act, and what you think your path is in this life. Finding yourself and truly embracing who you are in the healthiest way through therapy, talking with people, understanding that it's okay to be who you are. That is all the good things, all the bad things. Because in this life, there are good and bad in every single person. And we try to surround ourselves with the people that have more good than bad. Doesn't always happen. My father, alcoholic, when I was there helping when my stepmother was in the hospital, it was just a circus. I posted some of it on the Facebook page. Hiding bottles in the house, drunk driving, calling people to bring him alcohol, literally saying to my face after telling him that my boundary is, I won't go buy you alcohol. I respect your boundary, but please go get it. That's still going to happen. Yeah. But what ended up happening for me was recognizing and understanding that my father, as I once knew him, was no more. And at his age, I can't control what he does. It has to come from within him. And if you apply that to other people, apply it to yourself. I am the one who can make this change. I am the one who can dive into myself and really find who I am and take that and mobilize it. Become bigger than anything that you've ever been in your life. And I sit here now before you, talking to you about this because it's important to understand that I made it out, others have done it, and it takes a long time. And the thought of that, it sucks and it can be soul crushing, but damn it, do it for you. Do it for yourself. Realize that at the end of the day, no matter what anybody says about you, look in the mirror and say to yourself, I matter. I'm worth it. Because you are. You are worth it. There's nothing that you can do to convince me that you're not. Everybody should have their humanity intact, and that humanity should be respected. And as I sit here telling you my story, I hope that I have given you inspiration to go out and live a purpose-filled life. Live your life with intent. I started a podcast in 2020 after 2 years of saying that I was going to. The pandemic made me slow down and finally do it. And I realized that living with intent is something that you have to wake up and choose, and that it is fulfilling. And when I talk to other people about podcasting or YouTube or anything, I always tell them, do it with intent. And in all this time, the 5 years since my mom came back and the 5 years since my son was born, almost 6 now, I went from podcasting on a TV tray in that corner over there with a $12 microphone to a studio and a media company, YouTube channels, podcasts, photography business, everything with intent. That's what could be for you, whatever that looks like for you. And Matt and Paige are going to be here for you every step of the way. All the episodes that they have done have provided so much insight, so many tips, so much hope. But again, hope can be dangerous. Action, intent, purpose. Value yourself because you are valuable. Trust me on that. I hope that listening to my story and hearing somebody else who has gone through this, see another face, hear another voice, and hear that I have gone through struggles, that I can empathize with you, maybe not all of it, but some of it. Hearing that makes you feel just this much better, a little bit better than you did 40 minutes ago. It's all that I can do for Matt and Paige. It's all that I can do for you because I value this community so much. I value the struggles that you're going through. I value everything that Matt and Paige are trying to do. I've come to learn about Matt and Paige in a way that I know a lot of people won't through this podcast and through their videos and content. And beyond just what they do for this community, I'm not somebody who heaps platitudes on people just for the sake of saying nice things. I view them as family. I view them as two amazing human beings who have been through some shit, but like me, have come out the other side when the light at the end of the tunnel was just a flicker. Not only have they made their lives better, their kids' lives better, but now they're spreading that and enriching other lives, trying to help as many people as possible. And sometimes the pressure of that keeps them up at night because they want to help. So if you ever doubt their motivations, if you ever doubt what you think that they're doing for you or the community, just know they are so genuine, so authentic, and I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if I didn't believe in everything that they have to say and everything that they are as human beings. They're two of a kind. Hope this finds everybody well, and I hope this finds everybody safe. And maybe I'll talk to you again. I'll see you.